Well, thank you very much. Can everyone hear me? Okay. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure to be back in a world of great cricket superpower. I want to make it clear that I'm here in the capacity of a non-state actor. I hope by the conclusion of my remarks you will agree that I'm a benign non-state actor. But what I propose to do is to speak generally for a few minutes on the question of cyber and then address some of the talking points that have been specified. In a democratic state, the citizen should participate in the determination of public policy. Obviously, participation can't be directed universally, for example, or even as small as Australia. But the public should also be kept informed of how that policy is being implemented. Democracy requires transparency. Taxpayers are entitled to know what their taxes are buying and how well their taxes are being spent. They should also know if their taxes are being wasted. After all, in a democracy, the state exists to serve the people. In addition, when the government breaks the law, the citizens in whose name that law is broken are entitled to know about it. And now there are those citizens who trust their government to do the right thing and would prefer not to know the details of what the state does and the means by which the state does it. I suggest to you that this is not good enough. Transparency depends not only on the people's elected representatives, but also on a free and robust media sector and a vibrant civil society based on active NGOs. Now, I recognize that even a democracy requires a degree of secrecy. The secret ballot is, after all, the bedrock of democratic institutions, and the minister demonstrated the secret ballot to us very elegantly just a few minutes ago. I also concede that not all matters of defense and security can be on public display. In general, it would be most unwise to reveal one's specific intentions or one's vulnerabilities. Now, the term legitimacy refers to public acceptance, the degree to which the citizenry regards an institution, a law, or a policy as rightful and appropriate. The tension between secrecy and legitimacy is immediately apparent. The public cannot regard as rightful something of which it is unaware. This is compounded by the lack of accountability. All citizens should be made aware of harm committed by their government on their behalf. There are circumstances where secrecy may not negate legitimacy. Trust in an institution or in a policy may be so great that one may embrace it uncritically, as I mentioned. But to repeat, this is not good enough. I argue that cybersecurity should be developed and implemented as transparently as possible, with as much accountability as possible, in order that the policy and the state itself are regarded as legitimate. Let me speak briefly about accountability. This refers to the processes by which the state and its agents are brought to account for their wrongdoing. Ideally, they will be subject to independent scrutiny, identification of the wrongdoing, rectification of the harm caused, and punishment as and when appropriate. Now, most, if not all organizations, public or private, have three basic goals: to increase their resources, another is to maximize their power, and third, somewhat related, is to be shielded from external scrutiny of their internal conflicts. It comes as no surprise that in some countries, defense and intelligence organizations, including those dedicated to cybersecurity, are averse to transparency and accountability. Nevertheless, an agency established for the purpose of offensive or defensive cyber activities, including surveillance, should still operate under the rule of law. Ideally, there will be a legislative basis for the organization and its activity. This should clearly set out the agency's roles and should specify the extent and limitations of its powers. Some form of formal oversight and authorization should also be specified. History has shown that these ideals are not always met. I don't intend to engage in naming and shaming here, but if you read the newspapers, you'll get my drift. Now, the domain of cybersecurity is fraught with challenges to the rule of law. States and their agencies may exaggerate or even fabricate risks for political and institutional advantage. They may engage in overreaction. Their activities may be disproportionate or may cause collateral damage. Ironically, states that commit cybercrime may themselves be weakened as a result, especially when their activities come to public attention. Such an outcome may not be inevitable, but it has become quite common. Again, all you need to do is read the newspapers. State or state-sponsored cybercrime may invite retaliation and an escalation of conflict. It may set a bad example for other states or for malicious non-state actors. When they commit cybercrime, states that previously presented themselves as paragons of virtue or as defenders of freedom may see their moral authority eroded. Let's face it, hypocrites make poor leaders. For the above reasons, more public discussion of cybersecurity would be a good thing. Let me conclude this part of my talk by suggesting that transparency and accountability should be the default options. Those agencies that seek to override them should be required to make a very, very strong case for doing so. Now to the talking points. What are the threats to the global internet? Where are the threats to the global internet commons really coming from? Well, as we've discussed, as I've discussed, as previous speakers have discussed, nation states pose a significant threat to the global internet commons. So too the large corporations, those who collect information on all of us for their own commercial benefit, as well as those who willingly or unwillingly share that information with the nation states. Let us not exclude sophisticated non-governmental criminal organizations, the malevolent non-state actors, who pose a very significant threat to electronic commerce most explicitly. The second point, what are the different approaches when looking at cybercrime and cyber warfare? Well, with regard to the criminal track, and the cyber warfare track, prevention is very significant. The criminal track, however, departs from the cyber warfare track in that their major objective is the identification and prosecution, bringing to justice in judicial processes the perpetrators of cyber crime. By contrast, the cyber warfare avenue involves not only defending oneself against attack, but also potentially retaliating for that attack by stealing or breaking something of one's adversary. This refers, of course, to espionage as well as to offensive cyber operations. The third talking point dealt with policy failures, contradictions, market conditions, and technical vulnerabilities that have led to the growth of cybercrime. I guess the main contradiction here is that between security on the one hand and user-friendliness on the other. There are trade-offs there. In the earliest years of the digital age, user-friendliness ruled, and then as systems became increasingly under attack because they were so easy to compromise, there's been increasing emphasis on the security dimension. How can supply chains be protected? Here, I think of work I've done in generic regulation, buyer-supplier relations, where one party can dictate to the other a degree or the degree of security that may be that must be adhered to in order for transactions to take place. This can occur from the buyer imposing demands on the supplier, or vice versa. And finally, what role can communications networks and infrastructure play in responding to cyber threats? Let me simply conclude by saying that untold riches await those who can design and market security, cybersecurity that is both strong and user-friendly. I hope I've given you some food for thought, and I'd be happy to answer any questions when the time allows. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Let me turn to Mr. Ram.